I did a brief look to see what kind of Sleepy Hollow movies there were. I found one I didn't even know about from 1980, starring Jeff Goldblum as Ichabod Crane. I've
What?
never seen it. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for free.
What? I need to
But I
watch
kind
that.
of
I'm gonna have to
skimmed
watch
through it.
that.
I'm like a young Jeff Goldblum. I'm like, he looks like Ichabod Crane, like the way he's described in the book.
Hey, what's up?
Where are we heading?
We're heading to the Sleepy Hollow sign.
Oh.
The welcome sign, I think it is. Is that what it is?
The historic
The historic Sleepy Hollow sign.
We're in Sleepy Hollow, and we're Ghostbusters.
All right, we've got no choice. Call the Ghostbusters.
Hudson Valley Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command you.
Oh, command me, Lord!
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Beautiful. It's slime time.
Hey, greetings, ethereal beings, subhuman entities, and spectral forms from the great beyond, and any living humans who may be watching. Welcome back to Hudson Valley Slime Time. I'm one of your hosts, Jason, and the marketing director of the Hudson Valley Ghostbusters. And as usual, I'm joined by Matt and Corey. What's up, guys?
My name is Corey, and I'm the social media director for Hudson Valley Ghostbusters, and also the editor of this fine podcast.
And I am Matt. I am the executive director and co-founder of Hudson Valley Ghostbusters. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that raises money for charity in the Hudson Valley area, and now you are listening to our podcast.
That's right. And we were recently just down in Sleepy Hollow attending a Make-A-Wish event. And we figured we would exploit that opportunity. So we spent some time in the town trying to channel the vibes of the Headless Horseman. Luckily, we had our local lore expert, Shaun, with us. And we're even more lucky to have him with us tonight. Welcome to the show, Shaun.
Hey, Shaun.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Also a member of the Hudson Valley Ghostbusters, and my primary job is to carry all of Corey's gear wherever he goes. So
That's actually not true. I carry most of my own gear, but thank you, Shaun.
I don't know. We might need some video evidence here now to prove this one way or the other.
But yeah, we were down in Sleepy Hollow, and we were like, oh, let's get some video, get some photos. We'll make a good time of it. And then we found out if we just gave Shaun a microphone, he would just start spilling random Sleepy Hollow facts that were fascinating to listen to.
Yeah, it was highly impressive of how much, he kind of felt like one of those narrators or something you'd see on like a PBS after school special, talking about the legend of Sleepy Hollow or any other cool little lore.
it's just too much free time and an internet connection, but
And we have all kinds of video of Shaun expositing while we were walking around with some great background while we were talking. But yeah, we're here to talk more about Sleepy Hollow because it's fascinating. It's Halloween. We're Ghostbusters. Why not?
Yeah, this is our time of year. This is, when we have Sleepy Hollow in our backyard, why not? We gotta go. And like I said, it was just we lucked out big time that we actually just happened to have an event there, so it gave us an excuse.
No.
But of course, it had to be like the hottest day in October while we were down there, hiking up and down the hills and everything.
It was very warm for October. It was a fine summer day.
Yeah, it was. It was a nice day out. It was beautiful.
They do have a lot of hills in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, we had to park at the top of one.
Yeah, we got to play tourists, kind of like waiting in line to take pictures in front of the "Welcome to Sleepy Hollow" sign.
Hey, where are we going?
We're going to the Sleepy Hollow sign.
Oh, that's exciting.
I did appreciate the line of people just selfie after selfie.
Mm-hmm. The line of people taking their Instagram photos.
Well, I gotta admit, guys, I thought the Sleepy Hollow sign would be a lot more impressive looking.
That's lame.
Get your stuff together, Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, we're on the wrong side of the sign. Well,
Following you.
That chat's ruined.
Hey, it was a time killer, because we were waiting to get a table to get something to eat and rehydrate because, like I said, it was so hot and it was really dusty. So like my throat was just
incredibly dusty,
dry.
yes.
And I think when we finally got into that restaurant, I think I had 4 glasses of water within like 2 minutes. Just kept drinking it.
We even requested that they just leave the pitcher.
Yeah,
that's true.
Hey guys, this is Matt
and Jason.
We just finished up an event in Sleepy Hollow, and now we're in front of the beautiful historic Sleepy Hollow sign.
I thought we were in
around.
Albany. Sorry.
Oh, made a wrong turn.
But yeah, figure we check out the sites, see what we can find. Maybe we'll find a headless horseman.
Well, the first thing we did is after we ate and saw the sign, and we drove up to the cemetery there at the church. And unfortunately, I don't know, do they close that early normally, or is it just because it's the holiday season and they have like these tours and stuff going on or something?
Yeah, so I think they close at 4 or 4:30 every day. I think they have a lot of problems with not necessarily vandals, but just people going in there at night. And there's a lot of high-profile people buried there, both historical and then I think you can still. I think they still do modern interments. I think there's a couple sections that are newer. And Sleepy Hollow Cemetery primarily gets a lot of New York City residents. Will buy a plot there.
There's a couple of like Rockefellers and Carnegies and people like that buried there too, right?
Yeah, when you walk around, you'll see a mausoleum and you'll see like, say Chrysler, and you'll think, oh, I remember when my dad had a Chrysler minivan. And then you Google it and you're like, oh, that's the Chrysler. Okay.
That's the guy. That's
the guy. He's right there.
I think that was the first cemetery I've ever seen with an actual security guard, like black t-shirt that said security on it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was watching us closely. I don't know if he was anticipating, thinking we were gonna jump the little rock wall to get in there or something. But
so yeah, if we're going to put the video of Shaun talking about the cemetery right after I'm done speaking here, the reason I shot at the low angle I did is because I didn't want the security guard to give me the stink eye.
All right, here we are. We actually came up closer to the other side of the church where you can actually see part of the actual cemetery. Washington Irving's buried in here apparently somewhere, right? And yeah, you got a lot of info. So
yep, he's a little further back. He's in a much more modest grave than you would think with his fame here. He's in a family plot with all the other Irvings. I believe his brothers, various nieces and nephews are all there. And his tombstone is actually not original anymore. They had to give him a newer tombstone because it started to weather and flake, and people would take chunks of it every time they visited, and it wore down. So they gave him a more modern tombstone and actually gated that area.
It's nice how decent people are with that kind of stuff,
But what's also interesting is farther back in the cemetery, running along a creek, is the Headless Horseman Lane, or Ichabod Lane. And that also has a bridge that is closer to the literary depiction that you can walk across and kind of get much more of a feel of what Ichabod would have experienced going through that night. And then also here at the Old Dutch Church around Halloween time, during the day, they have almost like a fair setting where they'll sell cider. There is a couple different vendors. You can get Headless Horseman on absolutely anything. And they actually have a guy in full costume that walks around with a real horse. Could even be the spirit of the Headless Horseman himself. If you suspect that, please call the Ghostbusters. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get in. Like I said, we didn't get here time to get in, but you can get a good view of the cemetery here if you want to pan and show everybody. There's a lot of people. Like they say, everybody's just dying to get here.
He was staring at us the whole time.
And I did notice that when we started filming, he was kind of. We tried to place him so he was kind of like behind the bushes and out of sight and behind me. And then I noticed after we were done, he had worked his way down to try to get in shot.
I did have the pleasure of walking around that cemetery once. How long ago was that, Shaun? That must have been, 5 years ago?
Probably longer than that. I think it was 2017 maybe.
Wow, time means nothing. Luckily we had it was literally just torrential downpours the entire time. It was like that kind of rain where you can barely see because it's just running down your face, but it was still a fun day.
They do make umbrellas,
Yeah, I didn't come prepared.
What else you got there for little tidbits on the cemetery there, Shaun?
So for the cemetery itself, one of the big tourist draws there are obviously the paid tours. So they do they have the standard tour, which you can do by candlelight or during the day, which is going to go through all the high-profile graves. I think they shot a Ramones music video there. They'll point out that grave. They'll bring you into the holding vault, where they would actually store the bodies in the winter. It acts as a natural refrigerator, so they can then inter them, because they didn't have machinery back then, so if the ground was frozen, you were stuck. So they'll actually bring you in there, and fun tidbit, in there is a shrine to the fictional vampire Barnabas, was it Cullen or something, from Dark Shadows?
Really?
Because they actually filmed most of Dark Shadows in one of the big manors that are there. That's also a historical site you can tour. So Sleepy Hollow kind of has two fandoms. You have the Washington Irving Sleepy Hollow Headless Horseman fandom that gathers, and then you actually have Dark Shadows as well. So they bring you in there, they show you that, and then one tour that they do that I've not had the pleasure of doing, but is the serial killer tour. Apparently Sleepy Hollow Cemetery has more serial killers than any one cemetery in America buried in it, and the tour focuses on the serial killers themselves.
Okay.
That's quite interesting. I never would have thought of that. I mean, that is a huge, cemetery. So
over 400,000 graves. I don't know if that counts each individual person interred in every mausoleum, or if that counts as one, but there's over 400,000, and I think the village of Sleepy Hollow only has a few thousand people in it, and even Tarrytown's population I don't think gets anywhere. I think even Tarrytown's only like 40,000. I'm sure we could Google that, but yeah, there's actually more dead, so if the zombies ever rise, that they're screwed. But
and you mentioned Washington Irving, the guy who literally put Sleepy Hollow on the map. It didn't exist until he named it such. It was just North Tarrytown.
Yep.
But yeah, he wasn't really a popular author when he was here. He had to move to the UK, right? And he started writing and became popular there, writing about the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, so he, I believe he was born in Manhattan, and he was a bit of a sickly child, and there was an outbreak of, I think, scarlet fever. I could be wrong on the disease, but there was an outbreak of something, and they took him to North Tarrytown just to get away from it, get the cleaner air. So he was there as a child and spent a lot of time there with his Scottish nanny, and that's where he learned a lot of both the old Dutch folklore that a lot of his writing is based on, as well as a Scot-Irish influence from his nanny and then the people she connected with. And he later became a writer. As you said, he traveled. He was the ambassador to Spain at one point. And I think he only left Spain because they went into one of their civil wars. and I believe that was closer to the end of his life. But he put his permanent residence for the last chunk of his life in what is now Sleepy Hollow, and you can visit that at Sunnyside Manor. They do day tours, and they'll also hold quite a few different events throughout the Halloween season are there. My first visit to the manor, they actually did a whole interactive play that was the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and they had it set up that the first kind of scene in their main courtyard, it was Washington Irving writing the story, and then he's visited by the old spirits of Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow, and then you follow the spirits around the property, and they enact the play, and then there was even times you could interact with them. Very good show. And of course, they concluded with the Headless Horseman coming, but that was all in his yard, literally. So they'll do events like that, special events, and then just the normal historical tours will take you around the house. And one of the reasons he put his property there was he believed that the Hudson Valley and along the river was the most beautiful place he'd ever seen, and he was well traveled at that point in his life. He'd been to the UK, he'd been to Spain, and that was the most beautiful place to him. So that's where he decided to live, and he built the house there, and he expanded it throughout time. So I think he's buried at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, the whole Irving plot. I think there's a couple generations of the family there. He's kind of in the center, as one would expect, but...
And maybe I'm misremembering, but when he became popular as a writer, the sketchbook was his collection of stories that had Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle and a bunch of other short stories. But he didn't even use his real name; he used a pen name, didn't he? Was it Cran? Jeffrey Cran? Something like that?
I'm a little rusty on what the pen name is, but yes, you're right. He did use a pen name. A lot of writers did. I guess in that time period, it was very common that when you wrote fiction or fairy tales and penny dreadfuls and all of that, you used a pen name, and then your real name or your serious name was for your articles and your political writings and your journalism, and if you were scientific, your science entries on various scientific topics. But I do think towards the end of his life, he sort of merged it and just went by Washington Irving. And he was able to pretty much fully retire on his works, and his family lived off that money for a very long time. I think all the way up into probably beyond the 1940s, but I think that's when the last generation of Irvings lived in Sunnyside Manor.
Well, I do remember seeing that The Legend of Sleepy Hollow has never been out of print since it was first released. It's just been continuously going for the past several hundred years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not only is the original going that long, and then just dozens and dozens of adaptations, modernizations. I mean, I think Goosebumps has a version that they do. There's the classic Disney one is relatively true to his writings. And then you have ones that are just completely out there, like Tim Burton's movie, which I think most people are familiar with now.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic adaptation, but nothing like the original.
Yeah, I want to say I think my introduction to the whole storyline, I'm pretty sure didn't Rankin and Bass. They did one also, didn't they? I'm pretty sure it was them, or it was around that time frame and that artistic style. I just remember like when I was a kid just watching that one.
I found out because I did a brief look to see what kind of Sleepy Hollow movies there were. I found one I didn't even know about from 1980, starring Jeff Goldblum as Ichabod Crane. I've never seen it. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. But I kind of skimmed through it. I'm like, a young Jeff Goldblum. I'm like, he looks like Ichabod Crane, like the way he's described in the book. Yeah,
that I'll have to watch.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
I skimmed through it, but I'm like, all right, I got to watch this later.
Yeah, I mean, even cartoons like Hey Arnold did a version of it for an episode.
Something, right?
I think any popular show series, I think has done something in one way or another with it. Whether it just be a headless horseman rider, flying down the streets or something.
My intro was definitely the Disney version, and
yeah.
I think we had that probably taped off of the Disney Channel on VHS, Shaun.
Oh,
yes. So for our viewers, we're brothers.
Yes.
Our mom had that Halloween tape with maybe 10 or 12 different Halloween specials on it, taped off the VCR, and that was the last one. So I know it was a big tradition. You watched it, and then it concluded with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Disney. Sorry, we never stole. We never stole content off of the TV. We paid for it. Yes.
Everything was legally purchased at our local VHS department store.
We did not steal anything from the mouse.
The day after this gets released, you're gonna have
copyright claim.
Disney security knocking on your doors. We've got some questions for you.
You can now stream The Legend of Sleepy Hollow on Disney Plus. Subscribe today.
Don't mess with the mouse, man. Don't mess with him.
What's going on? You got my show you're watching for free?
So another fun factoid, though, with the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So it's a completely fictional story. So it is a speculation that there was a record of a Hessian soldier that did get his head blown off by a cannon not far from that area. It's actually unknown if Irving was actually inspired by that. That was kind of just pieced together by historians going, oh, maybe he knew that. But what is lifted out of reality is the Von Tassel family, as well as the Von Braun family were actually families in that area, both dating back to the 16 and early 1700s and all the way through. So you can actually find a Katrina von Tassel's grave, a Baltus von Tassel, as well as a von Braun. And if you take the tours, they'll bring you to it. And I think they even have maps that are just printed and left out front. You can find them. So it's not known whether he knew some of these people in reality or how much their characterization fits, but the names were definitely there. He would have known of them. So for being a fictional story, you can find real or close to real people in it, which is really cool.
And I know this one for sure, that he did lift the name Ichabod Crane. There was a guy, I think he was a colonel in the Navy. I don't know if I'm getting that right, but yeah, don't know if they ever met, anything like that, or he just happened to come across that name. That you can't just pull that name out of thin air like that.
That's why on the NBC adaptation, that series they did, Ichabod Crane is in the military in that one.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I know various production staff had kind of said when the internet was like, this is nothing like his story, they kind of went, aha, but the real Ichabod Crane was in the army. But yeah, so that is true. And then, he wasn't a detective like in Tim Burton's or early forensic specialist. I don't know what Johnny Depp was
Yeah, he was an inspector, but he was like a steampunk type inspector doing all these crazy investigations.
Yeah. See, I've always wanted to watch the Tim Burton one. I just never got around to watching it yet.
Wait, you've never seen
it?
No, I haven't seen it.
You really should. It's a lot of fun.
It's amazing. Yeah, I love that one.
I'm
not going to ruin it for you.
I just haven't had the time to sit down and watch anything. But
and I'm not going to ruin it for you for who plays the Headless Horseman, but you'll enjoy it.
But all right, so we got to see the at least some of the perimeter of the cemetery, and then we were right next to the church, so we got some cool shots of the church. Got any significant stories related to the church there, Shaun?
So it is still an active church with a congregation to this day. It is one of the oldest standing churches, if not the oldest standing church in America. It was built in the 1600s. That's the original building. I'm sure it might have had some repair and renovation, but it is still standing there. The depiction of it in the Disney movie is actually fairly accurate to how it looked. And it looks like the quintessential colonial church and graveyard with just old worn gravestones at all odd angles. And there's one, if you look, there is a tree growing and it has lifted the gravestone up into the air, and it's just carrying it with it. So wow. And then in and around there, if you go as a tourist during October, they'll have like a festival atmosphere with the Headless Horseman roaming around and vendors and a whole bunch of stuff that's real fun. And they'll typically have the church open. The church inside is almost underwhelming, but I mean, it's a 300-400-year-old building, so it's a testament that it's just even there.
Right.
And that would be in the Sleepy Hollow story when the church is referenced. That would be the actual church that's referenced in the story. And I know we have some footage of the bridge. So the bridge is usually depicted as a covered bridge. Now it's just a kind of an overpass over, very modern 2-lane, 4-lane road. But it's got some pretty stonework. But if you cross that bridge, my friend, that's where the Headless Horseman's power will end. So.
All right, so here we are, the famous Headless Horseman Bridge. Supposedly, this is the spot where Irving wrote his story about the headless horseman crossing the bridge. But was there something about like this being the actual spot, or they weren't sure, or was it a different location? Or
so in watching Irving's original story, Ichabod does cross the path of the Dutch church.
Okay.
Which is soon after that is where the headless horseman comes out and chases Ichabod. On his chase, he was told that if he can cross the bridge, the headless horseman would lose his power.
Right.
Now, the bridge is commonly depicted as an old wooden-covered bridge, the kind you'd find in New York and throughout New England and Vermont. Now they have a very modern 4-lane.
You mean it didn't look like this back then?
Which is dedicated to both the story itself and Washington Irving.
So since we're still talking about the horseman and the bridge, and that, it's where his power ends and everything like that, and the story that Ichabod gets told, so there are two different versions that usually pop up with the story, that either the headless horseman really is a ghost who was chasing Ichabod Crane, or it could be Brom Van Brun or Brom Bones, who is just playing a joke on him. Or I guess it could be Ichabod's imagination too. So which version of that story is your favorite? I think I know, but
the one that sticks in my head, it was kind of, and I don't know if it was part of the Disney one, or like I said, if it was the one I remember from a kid, but it was like his mind was playing tricks on him, where he thought it was a ghost, but it was really the guy coming after him or chasing him or whatever to play a joke on him or something like that. And he just took it too far, because they portrayed him as being this big scaredy cat, so he was scared of his own shadow, more or less. So that one's kind of always just kind of stuck in my head.
Shaun, which version you prefer to think is real?
So preference-wise, I always like when he's an actual supernatural entity to it. Washington Irving's writing it's a little bit ambiguous to kind of let the reader decide, but there's a lot of clues that Washington Irving's intention was that it was just von Braun. So one of the ones you can actually see the original painting if you tour Sunnyside Manor, but one of the first paintings that, I don't know if he had it commissioned or if they just painted it and gave it to him. The Headless Horseman is clearly a guy with a frock coat pulled over his head, holding a pumpkin, chasing Ichabod. And that was one of Irving's, that painting has been in his house since he received it. Also, there's a lot of subtle context in the writing. He calls a lot of the superstitious Dutch residents country bumpkins, and there's some almost mild insults. And talks about how it's the housewives that always spread the tales of ghosts and goblins. So there's a lot of even almost insulting language put in there to imply that we're supposed to look at Ichabod as ridiculous for believing all of this folk magic and witches and goblin stories. And then clearly von Braun marries Katrina and gets to become a rich Dutch farmer. So he definitely had motive. But I always like the versions where it's left up either for your imagination, which it's a little bit in the original. Some of the closing lines is but the country folk know what really happened to him, which was he was spirited away. But I enjoy, I think personally, if I had to slant, it would have to be the ones where he's a real ghost in it.
And Corey?
Yeah, no, I agree with Shaun. I grew up on the Disney cartoon, and I think that's how they really followed it too. So that's, it was a little ambiguous, but yeah.
I think the Disney version leans into that a little bit more than the original writings and some other adaptations. Because, Matt, I don't know if that's supposed to be a depiction of the Disney version, but that's very similar to how they drew the Headless Horseman. I'm referencing the pumpkin behind you.
This guy back here,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it was any specific, stated as a specific depiction. It's just that general, everyone knows that horse, guy without a head, holding a pumpkin.
So, which is your favorite?
I like it's a supernatural being that either spirited him away or he scared him away. Either way, it was decided that Ichabod did not belong in Sleepy Hollow, and he had to go. I think I remember. Maybe I'm I thought I remember a version 2 where like the horseman is almost like summoned by Brom Van Brunt to chase Ichabod away, or maybe I'm conflating the two different stories.
We can't spoil the Tim Burton one.
No, we can't.
Jason
we can't spoil the Tim Burton one. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe I'm conflating that with something else. But yeah,
I mean that also does sound very similar to like the storyline of the old horror movie Pumpkinhead. I don't know if you ever saw any of that movie. But
no, I wasn't.
They conjure up the monster to seek revenge on the people that did bad to him. We did one more stop after we did our little interview there, questions in front of the bridge. We actually got to park right down past the bridge near the gas station, and I guess they have this gigantic metal sculpture of the Headless Horseman, which was actually a really beautiful sculpture.
Hey guys, we're still in Sleepy Hollow checking out the sights. We've got the Headless Horseman statue behind us. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty impressive how big it is.
Yeah.
The cemetery is actually just off to our right up the ways a little bit. Unfortunately, we got here a little too late. So that's all closed up, so we didn't get a chance to get inside there. But if you guys ever get a chance, come on down here, check it out. There's some really cool stuff around here.
And as you can see, Jay got prime parking right in front of the statue.
Hey, I just followed Corey into his spot.
It is.
And we got some good photos of that, and hopefully Corey can post a few of those. And I know Matt was a little jealous because my Ecto got parked.
You got
prime
right in front.
And that wasn't even deliberately done. It was just like I saw Corey pull in. I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna pull right behind him," and I just kind of lucked out. Really.
Yep, I had to pull further up the road and walk back like a schmuck.
The Ghostbuster walk of shame.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was our little excursion around Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, and we would have liked to have seen much more, but we got there a little bit late because we had our event, and then everyone needed to be fed. Oh, you have a visitor behind you.
I'm being haunted by a small Victorian ghost child.
We had our event that ended at like 2, and we had to do cleanup, and then getting into town, and of course getting around Sleepy Hollow during Halloween time is no easy feat.
We had to park on top of a mountain. And, but yeah, we were all I think we were all suffering from a little bit of heat exhaustion there.
Yes, I think I was severely dehydrated. Wanted to die on the drive home.
Meanwhile, Shaun's in the passenger seat, fast asleep.
Yep, never even offered to drive. It's okay.
I didn't think you'd let me drive the new electric car.
I would have happily let you drive. I was feeling like crap.
I don't care if I'm half dead. No one else drives Ecto. If I'm alive, I drive.
But I felt so good that like when I left there, I actually had to stop, and I shared the picture with you guys. I had to stop. I'm pretty sure it's Route 117 that goes between Sleepy Hollow and Pleasantville, I believe it is. And it's just a small stretch of highway, but it's very, famous for being in all the highway scenes in Super Troopers.
Yeah, how'd you know about that? Like, did you just recognize it, or did you know that was?
No, I back when Super Troopers first came out, I worked for the Verizon, and I did a lot of work in Pleasantville, Terrytown, Sleepy Hollow, in the surrounding areas, and I just happened to drive that road quite often. So when I saw the movie, I was like, because there's a couple scenes on the highways where it has those bridges that go over top of the highway with the graffiti on it, and I was like, I know those bridges. I was like, I know that stretch of road. So when I was on my way to Sleepy Hollow Sunday morning, I had just happened to get off of the parkway and get on that road, and I was like, oh great, here's the road, awesome. I was like, I got to make sure to take a note that if I have plenty of time, I'm going to stop and I want to get a picture of Ecto. And sure enough, I did. I stopped and parked the truck right about where the police pulled over the stoners in the beginning.
I can't pull over anymore.
I have to say that beginning scene is probably like the funniest, like few minutes in cinema history, in my opinion. Littering ends.
If I have to make a confession, like I have not seen that whole movie. I've only seen bits and pieces of it.
Are you serious?
Gasp.
Zach my son just told me. Yeah, true. But Zach just told me he hadn't seen Super Troopers, so I was like, "That's it." I was like, "You and I, we got a movie night coming up. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna watch that movie because it's freaking hysterical."
About Irving's inspiration for Ichabod Crane, and we talked about the name, but it was supposedly he based it on a friend of his who was a school teacher. The name I have is Jesse Merwin, who was a teacher in Kinderhook. So he based his mannerisms on his friend. So, like, just talking about Irving pulled all kinds of inspiration from just like an immediate 5-mile radius where he lived.
Yeah, and Kinderhook's not, it's not exactly, up the street from Sleepy Hollow.
No, it's further away.
Yeah, Kinderhook's up in my neck of the woods.
And
you're talking.
There's no doubt that Irving was well traveled.
Yeah. I mean, because you're talking 90 miles probably.
Yeah, not to sound derogatory, but that guy got around. he went everywhere.
So many of his fictional stories, especially that have to do with magic and the Victorian ghost is back, to do with magic and whatnot, can be linked to old Celtic fairy tales, such as characters that experience lost time or go to different worlds, or even the Headless Horseman himself. And the Irish folklore has the Dalaran, which is actually almost a more morbid, creepier version of the Headless Horseman sort of archetype. But yeah, he pulled stuff from all over the place. But where it's special is he uniquely Americanized it, right? I mean, he's one of the great American authors, so he took this sort of melting pot of heritage and gave it an American twist, where these stories take place in New York and whatnot. So, which I think is something they authors still do to this day, right? I mean, Lord of the Rings is heavily based off Welsh folklore. Even Harry Potter is just a mix mash of everything from everywhere, and it evolves into its own thing. So I've kind of seen people criticize or complain against Irving, being like, oh, he just ripped off, old folklore. And I could see where you have the basis of that argument, but I think he grew it and turned it into something so much more and distinctly American in a lot of ways. So
he's credited with creating the first American ghost story, right? Like Legend of Sleepy Hollow is considered the first ghost story from an American author.
Yeah. Yep. At least that's very widely published and known.
Well, that's what I believe.
So much so that so many people actually think that the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow is a real spirit. I've heard ghost hunting teams, maybe the less professional high school ones, will go looking for him. And it's whether you believe in the paranormal or not, he's not there. It was complete invention of Irving. Now, if you go to our Halloween episode for last year, there is supposedly a headless ghost in New York, but much farther north, in a college town. So you can hear me rant and ramble about that story if you go back and watch our old episode. But
see, how do you remember that? I don't even remember what we discussed in that last episode.
Well, I mean, you guys let me out of the supply closet when there's a Headless Horseman story to be told. So
I do have to go back and say that I'm sure there was probably countless, ghost or haunting stories that the natives in the country here used to tell to each other.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, Native American folklore would be the first, right? So we can only look at it from a colonialized perspective when we bring up Irving. But,
right.
I think in the introduction to his original story, he mentions Native American tribes, and I think it's done in probably what now would be considered an offensive or politically incorrect way. but they're mentioned that they're supposed to be in the area, and I think it mentions like a powwow or something, brought spirits to the land. But
right. Well, I remember reading and hearing stories of how a lot of authors, they believe stole and hijacked a lot of Native American tales and then kind of wrote them down and maybe tweaked them a little bit to make them their own.
Yeah.
So they can get the credit for them too. So,
and then while we were getting ready to leave Sleepy Hollow, walking back towards our vehicles, Shaun just started dropping this story about another haunting that I eventually, we just like, all right, here, we just gave him a microphone and I just started recording, like, all right, just keep going.
Yeah. So, Shaun just basically went full PBS, narrator mode. It just started storytelling and stuff. It was.
So yeah, we did a tour at Hyde Hall, with Orange County Paranormal, where we were with a lot of other folks, but they had all the paranormal investigation equipment, EMF readers, EVP recorders, you name it, and they would teach you how to use it. But while we were there, one of the more interesting things was they put us in a room that I believe was the house's main nanny's sort of hangout spot. And I was doing a sweep with the EMF reader and got like super high readings out of this chair. That this would have been where she would have sat. And there's no electrical in the house. And if there is, it's running off a gas generator. And we checked it. We made sure we weren't picking up anybody's cell phone and stuff. So that was really cool. And then they had another device that would be very easy to set off with vibrations. But we were down in the kitchen and we thought it'd be fun to try to talk to the cook. And we actually got answers to our questions with that device. We do yes or no. And we would be like, there was a plaque on how mac and cheese was an old-timey meal, apparently. So timeless classic, and that the homeowners of the day used to love it. So we would say, like, did you love cooking mac and cheese? And we'd get a yes. And we're like, what do you, they're like, do you like Burger King? And we'd get a no, presumably from a confused ghost. So that was really cool. That was a great spot.
So I don't think I mentioned this on the original video too. So in Hyde Hall in Cooperstown, which you'll now be well acquainted with because I'm sure the clip will have played, we did, earlier in that day in our trip to Cooperstown, we did, the first place we visited was Hyde Hall. So when you go into Hyde Hall, they'll bring you into the dining room towards the end of the tour, and it's this huge colonial dining room. It's like the size of a school cafeteria, a small school. And hanging in that dining room is this portrait that is probably the size of your average, like, room wall in a normal house of this woman. And it's just so gorgeously done. It's kind of eerie, right? Her eyes don't literally follow you. Well, maybe they do, but it just has that vibe. And on that tour, the tour we took was like a non-haunted or ghost-centric tour. So they tell you the story of the painting. So one of the Coopers and Hyde family members was going to marry the woman that's in the painting, and she was diagnosed with tuberculosis during their engagement. And she ended up passing before they were actually married, or soon after. I believe, he married her anyways, and she passed. And he had that commissioned of her. And he later on to remarry, I think he got married like 2 or 3 times, and he would never take that painting down. Now the painting at this point was in a different house in Cooperstown. So he had moved out of Hyde Hall and lived in his own estate. And one of his wives went to take the painting down. She just wasn't going to have it. Didn't like his infatuation with the memory of his first bride. And she had it removed. And when she did, she was supposedly heavily haunted by the subject of the painting. Was very displeased. And it frightened her so bad that her experience is she had it put back up and actually spiked right through the frame of the painting and into the wall, and that spike actually protrudes out of the house. So when you do the ghost tour around town, they'll show you where the spike is. And I believe they had a priests of several denominations come down and sort of bless the painting and everything, and that supposedly ended the haunting. And there the painting was for years and years and years and years. So now the original family don't own the house. New people have bought it and moved in, and they didn't want the painting either, right? Because to them, it's just a painting of a random woman, right? So they got priests of multiple denominations again to come down and sort of bless the moving of the painting. And they had a family member, a descendant that's still alive, come down and kind of talk and say, okay, you know, we're going to bring you home. We're going to bring you to Hyde Hall. It's your grandmother's house. And that's where you're going to go. And that's where you'll be. And apparently went off without a hitch. It wasn't haunted. But from a tourist perspective, we take the Hyde Hall tour and we learn about the death, but none of the ghost things. So then we go on this ghost tour at night, and the guy starts mentioning the painting, and he sees me and my wife just light up, and he just looks at us and goes, "You went to Hyde Hall?" And we're like, "Uh-huh." And then he proceeds to tell us all the ghostly lore of it. But you know, I've been to Hyde Hall since then too, and it's like now even knowing that painting is supposedly haunted, it's just like, oh, that explains all the feelings and vibes. But yeah, another great upstate New York haunted location is Hyde Hall and Glimmerglass Lake. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on a good like haunted ghost tour. I was up in Rhode Island back in January, and we were gonna do this like haunted mansion tour. I gotta say, it was the lamest thing I've ever done. Like the tour guide was very ambiguous. It was like, yeah, maybe there's ghosts, maybe not. We don't know. We're just saying there is because you paid to get in.
I would definitely recommend the Hyde Hall one.
Okay.
Their standard ghost tour, which is pretty affordable. It's all candle and lantern lit because there's barely any electricity on the property.
Like actual candles?
Yeah.
Because we did the candlelight tour, and they gave us this plastic one with a switch on the bottom to turn the candle on. I was not pleased.
Well, the part is every
cheap.
every individual doesn't get a light, so you're gonna want to be near your tour guide because the people in the back were kind of getting like freaked out as you're in this, you know, dark, dimly lit.
That's where the fun is in the back.
Exactly.
Then. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, like this mansion is so creepy and old. You'd swear to God Eddie Murphy was gonna run through, and it's very creepy area.
Man, bringing up more Disney properties.
Trying to avoid
we want to try to get the mouse away. We don't want to attract the attention.
And Disney's Haunted Mansion is also streaming live on Netflix or Disney Plus. Subscribe today. But
I've done a couple. The last one Becky and I did, we were at the Lizzie Borden house.
Oh.
And I mean, that was cool. And then they take you, you know, obviously, you know, the whole murders and everything that happened in the house. And it was kind of interesting because Becky had done it before with the kids, like several years prior. And she was saying how, like, when they went on the tour guide made it very obvious that Lizzie Borden did not commit these murders, right? And, you know, so there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, she could not have done it. But then when Becky and I went on the tour last year, the tour guide we had, like, I left it and I'm like, man, I was like, how did she get away with this? I mean, she very obviously did this. So it's like, you know, depending on the tour guide, it was like, one was like telling stories, you know, oh, she was innocent. There's no way she could have done this. And then the other one's like basically pleading the opposite. You know, then they take you down in the basement, where the basement is supposedly you see the ghosts and all this other stuff. And I don't know. I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't very like spooky. But we did do, what is it called? It was their night tour. You know, with this talked about the Salem witch trials and all the other haunted houses. That was actually really cool. That was fun. That's a good one. If you go out, you know, go to Salem, do that one.
I think probably the last good like ghost type tour I was on was probably 2019 in New Orleans. It was Ghosts, Witches, and Vampires. That tour was awesome.
Nice.
Because you're just walking around the French Quarter, and our tour guide was this little guy with like a long hair and a beard, and he wore leather pants and he had a cane. He called himself the little weirdo in the leather pants. But he was an excellent tour guide. Yeah, that was the last good one I was on. Corey, you have a good one?
Well, I was going to say, I was probably a different tour, but I have been on a few haunted tours in Salem, which were great. But probably the best one I've ever been on was many years ago. I was fortunate enough to have taken a trip to Scotland, and I went on a haunted tour in Edinburgh, the capital, and they took us to these underground passageways, underground alleyways, and I mean, this was so long ago. I'm not going to remember all the details, but they told us about satanic rituals that would take place in there, and these are many, many, many hundreds of years old, and a particular section of it, many unhoused individuals would reside there, and there was a horrible fire on the street above, which then cooked everyone down below in the caverns like an oven. And they proceeded to tell us the story as we were standing in the room that it supposedly happened, which was terrifying. And of course, I had to get photographs, so I was taking pictures and realized that in my concentration of taking pictures of this room, everyone had already vacated. So when I turned around and realized I was alone in said room, that like 50 people had burned alive, I went to vacate the room very quickly, and the iron gate that was there shut right in front of my face. I don't think I've ever been that scared in my life. I kicked open the probably very old antique gate and ran down this
ran out screaming
passageway, and then proceeded to scare the last person in line that had already followed the tour out, and she screamed, and then everybody in the local area
big
screamed,
domino
and
effect.
started to laugh. But yeah, I've never felt more panicked in my life, I think, with realizing I was in this room where the iron gate slammed in my face.
Well, I mean, that kind of reminds me, I mean, the scariest, this wasn't actually a tour. I mean, it kind of was, but it wasn't sanctioned. About 30 plus years ago, and I think I told this story before on a previous episode. It might have been the last Halloween episode we did last year. But there was an old college down in Millbrook, New York, called Bennett College. And it was like an all-girls school, but it had closed up years and years and years and years ago. Like, I don't know if it closed up like in the 60s or something like that, and it sat abandoned ever since. So of course, me and our friends and all, we're teenagers. I'm like, hey, let's go to Bennett College. We know how to get in there. So of course we go in. 1 o'clock in the morning, pitch black. Old college, been abandoned for 40, 50 years, and we're walking around. And we enter this gigantic room, which kind of, I don't know if it was like a big ballroom, cafeteria, gymnasium, I don't know, whatever it was back in the day. And walking in there, and it was pitch black. Nobody had lights except for like a couple people had like lighters or something like that. But obviously you can't keep them lit too long. And you ever be in a dark place where you can't see people, but they're there? Like you feel them, you sense them, they're right there. So I'm like walking into this room, and I'm like, I know my buddy's still right next to me. We all came walking in this room, and all of a sudden, like, I get into the middle of the room, and I turn to talk to my buddies, and nobody's there. They had all like stopped or turned around and left. And like, I saw them, which appeared to be like a mile down the hall from where I was apparently. And I'm like, no, there was somebody right here 2 seconds ago. Like, I know them. I felt them. Like, I could hear their breathing, whatever. And yeah, that scared the what out of me. And yeah, I just quickly hightailed it down to try to get to my buddies before I'm like, don't leave me alone here, man. This is crazy. But yeah, no, there was definitely something going on in there. I think they have recently, in the past 5 years or so, torn that college down, so it's no longer there anymore. So unfortunately, because it was a big, beautiful building.
So Corey's story reminded me of when we were on the Cooperstown ghost tour. We're talking to one of the fellow tourees, and he was I wish I remember his name. He was there researching a book he was writing. He was an author. So the Baseball Hall of Fame is in Cooperstown. So he was doing research on a particular player he was writing a book about. And one of his hobbies was to do ghost tours whenever he was in a location for research. So there he was, but he was telling us that he toured, I think it was the Gettysburg battlefield or some Civil War site. And he was an older, dapper fellow, and he said he had a gray coat on. And somebody was saying, "Oh my God, I got a picture of a ghost. I got a picture of a ghost." And they must have been by some building because there was glass. And he's looking at the photo and he realizes that, it looked transparent and weird because it was a reflection, but he's like, I can recognize my own reflection. It was me. And he goes, I just let them believe they got a ghost. I wasn't going to correct them. They were just so happy they got a picture. So
are there any other like notable like haunted tour places in, like, I know there are, but like that you can think of in the Hudson Valley that would be worth visiting?
Oh, I'm sure there are plenty. I know a little north of the Hudson Valley, Fort Ticonderoga does a ghost tour that's really good. They're supposedly heavily haunted.
My parents took my kids on that when my son was, it wasn't that young. It was only like a few years ago, but he swears that he saw a ghost there, and that when he came home, the ghost followed him, and that the ghost was living in his bedroom now. Like, and this went on for like a while. He's like, that ghost followed me here. It followed me here. So apparently that definitely left a.
Yeah, that was not that long ago because I remember you telling us that story before.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, he's 19 now, so he might have been, maybe been 4 or 5 years ago. So he wasn't that young, but it still scared the heck out of him.
I was just gonna say the Capitol in Albany has some ghost tours around this time in the Capitol building. If anything, it's just an incredibly gorgeous building, which it's cool to see inside. But they do some tours.
But yeah, we'll definitely have to, because that was fun getting out and videoing in the location, and we'll have to do that more often.
That was good.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed our video vlog as we
or if
wandered
you have
around Sleepy Hollow,
or if you have a scary place in mind that you would like us to see us go and check out. Let us know too. Preferably one in the Hudson Valley. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to take a trip across the country if you're in another state, and it might be kind of interesting if it's worth it. Go on a Ghostbuster ghost tour.
Hudson Valley Slime Time investigates.
Slime Time on the scene.
We got to go to Scotland. We can be Hudson Valley Slime Time International.
I would love to go over to Scotland. I mean, when there's just so much history over there.
Yeah, it's
that's incredible there.
And that is where my people are from on my dad's side of the family.
Your peeps?
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to go back.
My dad's family's all from like Tennessee area, and that place is just loaded with the like Scottish settlers from back in the day.
In Troy, there's Pinewood Cemetery, supposedly very, very haunted. That's closed to the public all year around. It was actually I think it was like a failed investment. They tried to because in the Victorian era, it was very big to make cemeteries destinations. That's why all the Victorian cemeteries are so big, beautiful, and park-like. But yeah, they did. They'll do tours of it in October that you can. I think it was free. I think you just had to show up at the right time. Okay. But they will let people in under special permission, and on occasion there's someone buried there because of family plots. But that has a lot of local Troy folklore to it, and people claim to see floating orbs, and one of the supposed gates of hell is there, and
a
whole bunch of fun stuff.
Sounds warm.
Oh, there's a gate of hell in every town. There's one in Waterford too.
What was the Waterford gate of hell?
It's
that's on the well, yeah. No, when I was in high school, there was a pentagram painted under the train bridge on the bike path that follows the Champlain Canal.
Okay.
And everyone said that was a gate of hell.
And every senior refreshed it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I remember my buddy lived down in Pennsylvania. I don't remember what town it was near, but there was I think the name of the town might have been like Hellum or something like that, or used to be. There was like the 7 gates of hell, and supposedly like when you walk through all the gates, you would be on the site of like an abandoned sanitarium mental hospital that had burned down and all the inmates died, the horrible story. And once you got through that last gate, you would go straight to hell. We made it through. There actually were like a series of gates. We started walking through it, and then I had my digital camera, which was like 2005 or 6, so it was like a 0.5 megapixel camera. But yep, it just stopped working, and then we just got like the creepy vibe and got out of there because we were weenies. I don't remember if I talked about my brief stint ghost hunting on the last episode. It was the Pennsylvania Paranormal Private Investigators, which rolls right off the tongue. It was just a guy who was clearly just affluent, and he decided, like, hey, I like doing ghost hunting. I'm going to start a group. So he actually, I think it was like a Craigslist ad, and me answering a Craigslist ad back in like 2000, whatever. I was younger and dumb, but turns out they weren't murderers or anything like that. Actually, very nice people. And yeah, we went to this one, it was a haunted, it was like a storefront and then like an apartment above it and everything like that. It was supposedly haunted by the ghost of the woman who owned the building, she ran the store with her family. All of her family passed. She lived there by herself in this abandoned store for years, and then she died. And she supposedly haunts the building. I did see stuff that I can't necessarily explain. I don't want to go so far as to say, oh, like it was definitely haunted, but there were some weird things going on there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should definitely start taking this on the road more and find
the show on the road.
Take the show on the road. Get out there, get some footage at some sites and locations. All right, with October coming to an end, being one of our busiest months, November, we only have a couple events. We will be crossing state lines November 9th down in Stamford, Connecticut. We'll be down there for the Veterans Day Parade. So if anybody looking to take a ride or if you're in the area, come check it out. We'll be down there for their parade. Apparently, it sounds like it's supposed to be a pretty big parade, and I think we're going to have a pretty nice showing. November 22nd and 23rd, we'll be up at Saratoga for the Comic-Con Saturday and Sunday. We'll have our full setup up there, Slime Lab merchandise, be raising money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. That's always a good time. So if you're in the area, Albany, anywhere around, people come from hours and hours away to go there. So no excuse why nobody here listening. Take a ride up there.
All right, that is going to wrap up episode 20, the Sleepy Hollow special of Hudson Valley Slime Time. If you enjoyed listening to us and the things we talked about, please do like and subscribe. For any questions or comments, you can reach out to us by email, podcast@hbgb.org. If you were listening to this podcast and are interested in having Ghostbuster at your next event, but you're not in the Hudson Valley area, you can go to the Ghostbuster directory, whoyougonnacall.org, and on there you will find a nicely organized directory by state or country to find your local Ghostbusters group. For our local fans who would like to book Hudson Valley Ghostbusters for your next event, simply visit our website, hvgb.org.
Yes, and as Matt just mentioned, a great way to keep up with us is through our website, but equally as great and can also help us out is by following us on the socials. We're on all the greatest hits, Facebook, Instagram, Bluesky, and TikTok. There's links and handles in the video description. And hey, if you made it this far in the episode, why not drop a comment to let us know? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, like you said, any questions, comments about anything we discussed tonight, please leave a comment below. Remember, to help show your support, visit our online store, redbubble.com. Type HVGB in the search bar. There you'll find all kinds of amazing merchandise. Like I said, holiday season is coming. They make up great holiday gifts. I think last episode I mentioned, we're all Ghostbuster fans. We love the gifts. So friends, families, if you're listening, hey, and a portion of each purchase does go to charity. So just always remember that. And once again, like Matt said, one of the easiest ways to support us, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And with that said, I want to thank Shaun for joining us, impressing us with his remarkable local lore knowledge.
The lore master.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for being on here, Shaun. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And happy Halloween. Put that out there, because this will be coming out there right around there. And as always, remember, have fun, play with slime.
Nice.
Yay.
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.
That was good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are just about wrapping up here in Sleepy Hollow. We have had a great time, but it is getting dark. All the ghosts will be coming out, so we got some work to do. We'll catch you guys later.
You just gotta hold the phone steady. There you go.
All right.
I do have to add here, Matt, that Bones there in the background looks like he's feeling pretty sexy. He's got his zipper pulled way down there and got the sunglasses on. He's like, "How you doing there?"